Mr. Speaker, Cain was asked by God, "Where is your brother Abel?" And Cain, walking in the Garden of Eden in the absence of his brother that he had murdered, responded, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Today, Mr. Speaker, I pose that very question in this room. Are we our brother's keeper? In recent days, Bermuda has seen in the last week 6 souls' lives come to a halt. 2 children, a mother, and though we might discount him, a man that committed those murders, and a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old. On Sunday when I heard of the tragedy, it took my breath away. I was saddened. The group of people that I with, we looked to each other, we tried to comfort each other, but we could not find the answers. On Wednesday, when I heard about the 2 murders, I was devastated. That only became worse, Mr. Speaker, when I learned who the 2 men were. MP Famous introduced me to these 2 young men. So to many of us, this might be something that we politicize, something that we seek political brownie points or to stand and to thump our chest. These were 2 young men that many of us in this room tried to help. And as we helped them, they helped us. MP Famous started something called Parish Pride. This is where we went into our constituency and we cut the trees, raked them up. Sunday mornings, whilst the average Bermudian slept in their bed, MP Famous was waking us all up. Guess what, Mr. Speaker? On 3 mornings, the 2 young men that died, the 2 young men that we have discounted, worked with me in my constituency, lifting trees, cutting trees, telling me about their dreams, telling me about their future. Go to this mom's house, and she thanked us for taking them into our community. These were not lost and abandoned men. These were our sons. This is our community. It was at my hand when I listened to their dreams and their aspirations as we lifted the leaves and as we raked the streets. My mind goes back to the morning where we were on top of Parsons Road Hill. We were lifting the trees, and the CEO for the Bermuda Hospitals Board, Mr. Scott Pierman, was so impressed. He doubled back in his car, and he got out his car, and he gave each one of these young men $100. He was amazed that on a Sunday morning, just as the sun raised, they were in their community, lifting, cleaning, sweeping. So when I heard that these were 2 of the men, my heart was broken, because it was in my constituency when their mother came out 4 years earlier when there was a shooting on Parsons Road and asked me what was I going to do as minister. And I asked her to take the 14-year-old twins back into the house on that night. We committed ourselves on Parsons Road and on one-way Deepdale to make a difference. This is not talk for me. This is a community in which I was raised, a community in which my parents live, my nieces and my nephews live. They have been besieged by racism in the 1960s and the 1970s. They've lived through the drug and AIDS epidemic of the 80s and 90s. And now we come to a new phenomena in the 2000s with gang-related violence. Many of us don't understand the psyche of people in oppressed communities. It is something called multi-generational, non-addressed trauma. Understand the psyche of people who have not had what we have had, the opportunities. And so when we try to mock it down, there are many layers to this. There are many sides to this. But at the end of it, these are our people. No matter what it looks like, and no matter what it sounds like. Those two young men, those two people, those three people, those two children that died, those are the people in our community, and we all are responsible for them. This week we saw a man kill two sisters in London and a mother. We've seen in our world where there is tumult, there's turmoil. The Christian will say these are eschatological events or last days events. We see the breakdown in our community. I saw the Minister of National Security yesterday. I can see that his head was heavy, that his heart was heavy. I listened to all the things that he had done in the recent weeks, in the recent months. I understand that weight. Why? Because I sit in the hospitals with the families as they grieve. I too have had the responsibility for going to the homes and sitting with the families. I too have had the responsibility of what our community wants. They want answers. They want a throat to choke. They want accountability. And that is all wrapped up and weighs heavily on Minister Weeks' head. I saw him today. He is wearing that as a man that we've put in that role. And he takes that responsibility seriously. He gives this country his all. He works tirelessly. There is a team in the Ministry of National Security led by Pastor Bean, over 25 people. And in our country, when things go wrong, we want an effigy to show what we've been doing. A number of the things that they're doing cannot be discussed. The meetings that they have, the opportunities they have, getting people off the island, giving them support, working with mediation, working with counseling. Those are things that the average eye never sees. How do I know? Because I've been in the meetings where they are getting the two sides together. I've been in the meetings where they're trying to do crisis resolution and mediation. At nights when there are issues that when we are sleeping, they are going out into these affected communities and brokering, holding back the winds of strife in our community. The first thing that we want to do is find ourselves someone to pin it on. I can tell you this, and without fear of being offensive, I know that they can do more. And they will be prodded to do more. And that is the responsibility. I have worked with Pastor Bean. He will give it his all. He will push his team harder. Because that's what this situation requires. The Bermuda Police Service, I'm not going to talk about the governor's role in this. Why? Because I know that I have to stand beside no matter what the strength is. I believe in this country. And I know the men and women that are working, they're going to do their all in this crisis to make sure that we are protected. I will put down the bipartisan sword and tell you that in this time, I will stand with them because that's all I have. I know the code for Scotland Yard. I don't adhere to it. I know that we can manage it together. But do we think that we're going to leave it on policing? We will not police our way out of this. They have a role to play. And like the Ministry of National Security, the gang violence reduction team, I am sure they can do more. But guess what? This weekend when they have the Slough clash, or next weekend when they have county games, or the week after that when they have cup match, and are doing 3-1-5 stops. Mr. Speaker, as you know, a 3-1-5 stop is when the Bermuda Police Service thinks that a person is involved with gang activity, an officer at the rank of an inspector, when he believes that a person could be carrying out a gang activity, can stop that car on the side of the street. When we're driving by and we see the police stopping and we're waiting in that traffic log or in that traffic jam, are we willing to understand that's what the situation calls for? As uncomfortable as it is when we watch this 3-1-5 stop, as much as we all hate it, because it is subjective. As inconvenient as it is to see police vehicles and armed officers on Parsons Road, on Middletown, guess what? That's what this situation is going to call for. Understand that when we say we want to see more policing, we are going to get more policing. But guess what? That's not going to stop this problem. Should we have more police officers? Should CCTV be there? 80% of it's done. We will get it done. But that's not going to stop this. Will we use it as a tool, a forensic tool, to help us in the solving of crimes? Of course. But that's not going to solve it. We're talking about a country where in our community, we don't, and I don't care what anybody says, we don't support mental health treatment in our community. We don't. I will stand on that fact. We need more mental health support in our community. We have to have the opportunity for people to understand a DNA helix, understand what you're susceptible to, understand what happens to the brain with marijuana misuse and the predilections and the predispositions because how closely we are related. Understand how schizophrenia runs in family lines. Understand how depression runs in family lines. And if you don't treat it, if you don't talk about it, if you don't get the proper medication, I believe in prayer. I believe in supplication. But I also believe in the right medication. These are conversations that we have. How do I know? I have spent the nights at the hospital, at the prison. Our community has been in crisis. And together, we have to work to get it out. I'm not going to sit here and paint it as all doom and gloom, because that is not who we are. There are bad actors amongst us, and we must root them out and hold them accountable. But I believe in the spirit of the people of these beloved isles. Every time somebody refers to my beloved island as the Isles of Devils, it makes my blood curdle. And I know the historical significance behind the term. We are no Isles of Devils. We are loving, kind, hospitable people. We are the people of Bermuda. We are people that have transcended all sorts of adversities, and together we have made it. This is another adversity that we must face together, and we will not do it with our heads buried in the sand, with our fingers pointed at politicians, with our fingers pointed at the police, with our fingers pointed at the families in judgment. It is a time that we all must introspect in our micro communities, in our smaller circles, and ask the question, am I my brother's keeper? What can I do to make this situation better? How can I fill the gap? How can I fill the void? Community activism is important. But let me tell you this. Activism is important. But there is a level of involvement that means you have to roll up your sleeves and you have to get back into this community. There's opportunities for now when things are tenuous in our communities to start neighborhood support groups and to walk around those communities and to make those neighbors feel as if they're safe in the central parishes, fraternities, churches, sports clubs. That's what we need. We need an opportunity for this community to rise from the ashes and show that we get it, that we care. The sense of fraternity and brotherhood that we see during cup match, we need to see it now at Christmas time. When our country is in crisis, will we lay aside and give those that seek to divide us, to conquer us? Will we give them the glory and the victory, or will we rise and as a country work and walk together? Will we support the Bermuda Police Service, the Ministry of National Security, the Gang Violence Reduction Team, or will we seek to divide and tear them apart as we are prone to do? This is our opportunity to show our children that we have moxie, that in the face of adversity, we will band together, not based on creed, religion, or color, but based on that this country is at a place that we need each other, and we are only as good as this community coming together. Jew or Gentile, Greek or African, we must work together as a community to bring ourselves up. I believe that the call by MP Campbell for 100 men to come forward is important. We understand that we can no longer sit in chat groups and have people sending us voice notes from all across the world and sending us these videos to inflame our senses and make us feel a sense of helplessness and hopelessness. It is time for the men in this community to stand up and be counted. As difficult as it is, black men have to stand and be counted to push back the bar stool, the stool of apathy, the stool of having the ability to watch the women in our country lead. Push back the stools of being indifferent and being absent and take our rightful place and model success and model working through difficult situations and model working through a crisis so our young men can see that it's more than our libido, that our brain and our hearts work as well. Not only must they see us when we're angry or overly sexualized, they must see that being who we are, Christ-centric beings, black men that are able to love, that are able to work through difficulties, black men that are able to support, black men that are able to provide, because that is who we are. And we must paint that picture so that picture can be seen around the world and our young men can want to be a part. So mentorship, modeling success, a community healing, and a community coming together, mental health coaching. This is not the worst of who we are. This is a time to show this world the best of who we are. And when that question is posed again, whether existentially, whether politically, whether socially, am I my brother's or my sister's keeper, we will all rise together and say, yes, I am.